Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here at the ProBox TV studios. Well, when you talk about talent, when you talk about young ability in the sport, Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez, definitely at the top of the list. It looks like talks are working out for them in January with that Turkey Al Sheikh money. Will it happen? Shakur Stevenson, of course, have to come up to 140 pounds, but are we getting teased? To help me with the reality of it, in studio, Paulie Malignaggi, the champ, next to me via Zoom, the champ, Chris Algieri. Paulie, I know you're Mr. Negative. I almost feel bad I'm going to you first because you're going to tear my heart out with this. We know about Teofimo Lopez backing out from talks with Devin Haney right at the end. We thought that was a done deal. Am I getting teased for him versus Shakur Stevenson? Lay it on me, dude. Give me the negativity. I'm ready for it.
I don't know, man. Because Teo's a tough guy to read. So, you're asking me to do something that I don't think a lot of people can read. Teo's a tough guy to read. I think Shakur has wanted all the smoke for a while. He just hasn't been able to acquire the big names in the ring with him. But now I have to go up to 140. It's a guy who turned pro at featherweight. It's also difficult, man. And I think Shakur is amazing, but it's not the easiest fight. But for Teo as well, you never know which version you're going to get. But when Teo is up against a guy of the level of a Shakur Stevenson, he tends to bring his best as well. This is going to be, if it happens, a really interesting fight. I don't know how stylistically it'll gel, but it's a really, really good fight between two very, very good fighters. My only issue is, the loser is going to get more criticism than he deserves, because instead of getting the credit for fighting one another, if this fight does happen, there's going to be a loser, obviously, and then that criticism is going to come down. Meantime, these are both guys that have a resume of wanting all the smoke, have a history of wanting all the smoke. They want the tough fights, for the most part. I know the Teo and Haney fight fell apart for some reason. But Teo was also taking much tougher fights than Haney. So it's like I said, that's why it's tough to read for me. You know what I mean? He's a guy who's very difficult to read. And Shakur, obviously, I don't think this is the ideal tough fight that he would want, because this is another weight class above. But he's a guy that's wanted the big name so badly, and they've all avoided him so much that he's willing to just go in with any big name as long as he gets a big name and gets to prove himself to how good he really is. And who knows, he may just win this fight. We don't know. I mean, this is one of those things that is going to be tough to predict, because Teo also goes up another level when he's up against the world's best. He looks like he never doesn't belong in the ring when he goes against guys that don't belong in the ring with him. But then when he goes up against the bona fide best and the guys everybody's talking about, he tends to perform very well. So really a risk for both. I don't know. I like the fight. Yeah. I know. For me, I don't know how much of a barn burner it's going to be, but it's a really, really interesting fight between two of the world-class best in the world. But I don't know. I can't tell you.
You didn't tear my heart out. You left a lot of my heart out.
Because Turkey Al Sheikh is involved, I think there's a better chance than if somebody else, if he was not involved, But I still, you never know. You never know with Teo. I can't give you my take that Teo's definitely going to fight. I can't, because anything's going to happen. But I think Shakur would want it. If you tell me if it's based on Shakur wanting it or not, I'll say, all right, this is going to happen, because Shakur Stevenson has been wanting the big fights. He's been wanting the big names already. Not that Teo doesn't, but Teo flies off the handle. If he doesn't take a fight, it's because he flew off the handle. I don't know, so I can't predict which way he's going to go. But I like the fight. I just don't like that, somebody's going to have to get criticized while other guys in this weight class fight Uber drivers and get nothing but praise. So that's the only thing that scares me here, because these are two such good fighters that regardless, the fact that they fight each other should be a credit to them and the sport.
Now, what it reminds me of a little bit, Chris, and you and I talk about this a little bit off camera, one of my favorite fighters of all time, Roberto Duran. People forget he's a lightweight, going up to 47, then going up to middleweight. He had to go up to get the big fights. Obviously, Sugar Ray Leonard, we know about the Four Kings. This idea that he had to move up out of his comfort zone in order to get the big names. Do you agree with Paulie that the no here would almost certainly come from Teofimo Lopez, who's been mercurial over the last couple of years? Is that fair?
Well, listen, we've seen that over the past. You mentioned Roberto Duran, but even Floyd Mayweather, the guy who had to keep moving up. He had his big breakout with Arturo Gatti at 140, and then he jumps up to 147 for the Oscar De La Hoya fight, which made him a bona fide star. That was the changing of the guard type fight. And, eventually it runs out. But the best of the best of the best do this. And I think Shakur is that good. I think that he can move up, and I think we are going to see him at 47 eventually. So moving up to 40 is not that crazy. What's crazy is that this is probably the most difficult fight out there for Shakur because of the style of Teofimo Lopez. Both these guys are incredibly talented. Both these guys are very athletic. Both these guys have a very high boxing IQ. But Teofimo having a little bit of a size advantage, being more accustomed to 140, but also the fact that he can punch and the fact that he's got a very high IQ, that he's super athletic, that he can box with you. Is he going to outbox Shakur? Not necessarily, probably not. But if he cracks you, if he catches you,
he's
along
explosive.
with that boxing.
And along with the fact that Shakur is naturally smaller.
Very tough.
Along with the fact that Shakur is naturally smaller, so that power can have.
Honestly, though, I've been around both guys. I've been very close to both these guys. I don't think that Teofimo is that much bigger. I actually don't think he's he's bigger at all. I think they're actually about the same size.
But from the physicality point of view,
from strength, it's different because the strength is certainly in Teofimo's
because he's been in higher weight classes. Yeah.
Not even that. I think he's just a physically strong guy, and not that Shakur is not. I just find that the explosiveness and the athleticism of Teofimo is a little more dynamic, and I think that's going to play a part in how this fight shakes out. But I mean, I think this is probably a tougher fight than Tank Davis for Shakur. I think the speed, the dynamic, the fact that Teofimo can be busy, the fact that he's got a jab. You know, he came out in the Barboza fight and threw a million jabs. It was super impressive. I always said he's lacking a jab, then he shows up with a jab. So the guy really, like you said, Champ, in terms of even his style, he's hard to predict which version of him is going to come out, what new things he worked on in camp and can do at the highest level. It's a very, very interesting fight.
Or what things he does in one fight that you think, okay, he worked on them, and then all of a sudden he forgets them in the next
It's
fight.
gone,
You know?
yeah.
It's like, usually guys...
Cutting off the ring. He couldn't cut off the ring in one fight,
usually,
but then he's got a brilliant jab in another.
Usually guys, when they add stuff, you see that consistently going forward. Like, oh, he added this. Okay, now he's better. You know, it's like, I remember when Manny Pacquiao started having a right hook. You know, he after that point, he always had a right hook. You know what I mean? Like, it was always there.
Yeah,
with Teo is... You know, you see them new things, like, oh, this kid is unbelievable. Then all of a sudden, he forgets half of them in the next fight. Then he brings back all those things and more in the fight after that. And then he forgets 3/4 of them after that. So just because you've seen Teo do certain things, you know he can. But will he?
Yeah.
You don't know.
But that's the thing with Teo. It's always, will he? Which version of him shows up? The best version of him, I have trouble seeing anyone beat him. Shakur, even. You know, like I think Shakur beats everybody. I've said that consistently for a long time. But I think if even Teo at his best, I don't know, he's hard to beat too. It's a lot of what ifs. Always with Teo.
But when he underperforms, man, it really leaves you like
so bad.
Your mouth agape. Like
it's absurd.
When he lost to Kambosos, when he fought Jermaine Ortiz, when he fought Sandor Martin. It's like, dude, like, is this the same guy? Yeah. It's like, you can't, there's randomly just, he's all over the place. I can't get
I'm not diagnosing anyone, but in terms of his fighting style, he's bipolar. Like he could be
bipolar,
hot or cold.
Yeah.
He's boxing bipolar, exactly. Not psychologically bipolar, boxing bipolar in terms of his performances. But Jimmy, I know your heart got through it. But now
my heart got through. Go ahead. All right, it's open right here. Come on, tear it out. Reach in there.
I don't see this fight happening.
Really?
Yeah, I don't see this fight happening right now.
Really?
Nah, I don't. I don't. I think. Champ, you mentioned that the Saudi money and Riyadh coming in, they were involved in the Haney negotiations too with Teo. There was a lot of money on the table. That fight.
Is Teo going to burn that bridge again?
That's a very good point. Twice, it's like, okay. You might not be worth dealing with. That's
I don't think he knows he's going to burn the bridge. It just happens. He wakes up that day, and that's he gets rubbed the wrong way with some kind of negotiation, some kind of point.
He wakes up and chooses violence certain days, and that's it.
Right.
And then all bridges are burned.
But I'll say this though: if you look at the track record of Teofimo Lopez, the guys he calls out over consistent periods of time are the fights that happen. He wanted Lomachenko for a long time before that fight happened. He called out Josh Taylor for a long time before that happened. He called out Jaron Ennis. That fight's obviously not happening. I haven't really heard him call out Shakur. So it gives me a little pause when I'm like, this fight just came kind of out of nowhere. I haven't really heard Teo talk about it. It seems like he drives his ship with who he fights, and when he wants to, he'll take a guy, especially at this level. So I don't know. I'm definitely pumping the brakes on this fight occurring anytime soon.
So when you look at it with as Paulie said, and let me throw it to you, Paulie, first, Shakur Stevenson wants all the smoke. He just has trouble getting the big name to agree to fight him. If it's not Teofimo Lopez, where does that leave him options-wise?
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of guys don't want to fight him, And I think the fear with Shakur, a lot of times there's a fear with punchers who don't generate a lot of money.
Yep.
Like, for example, Golovkin was a major puncher, didn't generate a huge amount of popularity, so people wanted to avoid him. But with Shakur, the risk with fighting Shakur, and I think why people don't want to deal with him, is he's so good. He almost he little bros you. Like, he'll just put you in a box and be like, "All right, little bro, you're gonna be right here.
Grown man, you're
gonna just." I'm gonna make you look so bad that you're gonna look like you don't even belong in the ring, and then that leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth in terms of the way you looked, and then you're worried about how going forward. Oh, you just got dominated. That we're not. Nobody wants to see you anymore. So I think that's the worry.
Roy Jones in you.
Yeah, that's the worry that people have with Shakur Stevenson is because he's not super powerful, but even Champ Chris, you mentioned that Teo calls a lot of guys. He never really called out Shakur. There's that fear that no matter how good you are, Shakur will little bro you. I said it the whole time. Shakur would have little bro Gervonta Davis, bro. He would have wiped him 11-1, 12-0, maybe 10-2 at best. He would have won it easy. But that's why the guy never went near him and they never called him out and never did any of that. So, and you can't age out Shakur because I think Shakur is younger than Gervonta, right? So you can't even age out Shakur like the way Gervonta tried to age out Lomachenko by not mentioning his name until he was 36. So I think that there's a risk here with anybody with Shakur, and that's why you don't see anybody chomping at the bit to fight him. He's such a good fighter, but you're risking losing in a fight that's not good. You're risking losing because he doesn't spectacularly do it. He just, like you said, he Roy Jones is you. He little bros you. Like, all right, little man. You thought you were good. Now you step in the ring with me, and I'm gonna make you look like you don't belong here. And then people get a bad taste in their mouth. Not so necessarily from him all the time, but they don't want to watch him because he's so dominant. The same thing with Floyd. Actually, a lot of times, people complain, but people who already have a position don't want that to happen to them. So Gervonta Davis has a position. Who knows if Teofimo, maybe doesn't want to lose that position. Even though Teofimo, again, flies off the handle, he loses that position on his own by losing to guys like Kambosos, to underperforming with Martin and Jermaine Ortiz.
Blowing up deals.
So, or blowing off deals. So with Teo, again, I don't know if anything's off the table. The card. I don't know what cards are on or off the table with Teo. I can't read him. I don't know if there's been a fighter that I can't read like this. People may mention Tyson Fury, but even Tyson Fury, he flies off the handle. But in the ring, you kind of knew what you were gonna get.
Yeah. Very good. Tyson was consistent in terms of performance.
Yeah, he underperformed. High it was Otto Wallin. He didn't look great against, but okay, it wasn't like where Teo lost. Teo lost to Kambosos, bro. Like he lost the fight. After beating Lomachenko, no less. I don't know. I hope we see it. For me, it's a curiosity.
Oh, fight. I agree. I love the fight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we do get this fight and we get it sooner than later. You got two young guys in their prime.
Gets these inside scoops, though. I don't know.
He does. He's generally right about stuff, which kind of pisses me off.
Yeah,
and it's true. And he's got to give me my heart back.
I just go off the handle, whatever I'm thinking. Champ has these inside nuggets that he kind of lets out every once in a while.
But Chris, to throw it back to you, man, to button this in a sense, Teofimo, you talk about the Barboza Jr. fight, Times Square. He was high stepping during that. He was looking good. He was playing with his food a lot. And then we haven't heard from him since. This idea that you only have a certain amount of time, that was a high-profile fight. It was a spectacle in the middle of Times Square, and he hasn't really capitalized on that in any way. As talented as he is he wasting a lot of time with these negotiations that are falling through, man?
He's such a conundrum, this kid, because is he wasting time? Yes, but look how much he's accomplished already. Like he was undisputed, but before the age of 25. Like he's still under 30. He's been multiple-time world champion. He's had great performances. We've had some bad performances, forgettable performances, I should say. So you look at it, it's like, man, he's wasting time, but he's already done so much too, and he continues to keep doing, and he has a lot more left in him. So it's just a testament to how good he really is, where his talent level is at, that he could achieve what he achieves, even though he's basically constantly stepping on mines throughout the field, constantly, and himself. He's looking for him. He steps on him on his own, give himself his own pitfalls. But again, the talent cannot be denied. When he does choose to take all the smoke, he does it. And I hope this fight does happen. I hope this is real. I hope he is really looking for this fight. Champion Rob, a good point. Is he going to burn that bridge again? Because he had that Haney one. I mean, it was this close. And Teo's at his best when he's active. When he fought Josh Taylor, he had a really active year prior to that. He moved up to 140, fought a bunch of times on top rank undercards. On top rank cards, excuse me, and then he got that Taylor fight, and he looked phenomenal that night. I was in the room in the garden. He looked tremendous. But now, by the time this fight were to occur, he's going to be pretty inactive, and he's got a really tough puzzle in front of him. Does that affect the fight? Or does Teo just show up like he shows up whenever he's in danger, whenever he's in a tough fight, and goes out there and puts on a career best? Who knows? Champ, I'm with you. I'm so all over the place with Teo because that's how Teo is, and you can't get a good read on him. I've been on fight weeks when I'm watching him, and I'm like, I don't think this guy's gonna even make it to the fight. He's so up and down. He's so manic in terms of his personality and his psychology leading to the fight, and then he goes out there and he puts on a Lomachenko fight, and an incredible performance. So he's impossible to read, and I think that's part of his allure. That's part of his charm. I think it's part of his strategy. So yeah, I don't know where this ends up. I don't know how true or not true this could be, but I don't know. I'm all for it. This fight's awesome.
And if it happens, I want my heart back that you just tore out of my chest. I want it back. I want it back if it happens. But we'll wait. We'll wait until it happens. And as it does happen, as it makes news, you'll see it right here on Boxing Scene Today, where you get all your boxing news and you join millions watching us. Paulie, there's a hole right here in my chest, all because of Chris.
Well, let's find a surgeon.
Why do we include him?
Let's find a surgeon, bro.
Paramedics. Call the paramedics.
You guys are pathetic.